Good evening, everyone. I am Gregory Zarian, and welcome to tonight's episode of Healthline. Tonight we are talking about the deadly road of addiction. We are so fascinated of it as a society. The money, the glamour, the intrigue, living on the edge. But how is it for a celebrity that actually suffers from an addiction? Lately, we have been amassed in our media with the death of Amy Winehouse, five-time Grammy winner for her breakout CD Back to Black, and of course her serendipitous song Rehab. She was found recently dead at her home, and reports say that she actually was clean. Now, toxicology reports have not come back yet. However, her father says that she was clean. It is such a world that we are fascinated in. Also, there's something called the 27 Club where iconic musicians have died all at the age of 27 due to drug-related incidences. Jimi Hendrix apparently was drunk and died on his own vomit. Icon Janis Joplin was found in 1970 with the syringe still in her arm. We also have Jim Morrison, the creator of The Doors, and other celebrities have just died. So what do you think actually leads someone that gets fame, fortune, and international exposure to become so dark and scared and private? Joining me tonight are two guests that can actually demystify celebrity and addiction. Returning guest from Glendale Adventist Alcohol and Drug Services is the director of GADS, Scott Robertson, and sitting next to Scott is my first-time guest, international superstar, international model. She's actually one of Maxim's #1 most beautiful women. You've also seen her in films. You saw her with Johnny Depp in Blow, Charlie's Angels Full Throttle, and she's the breakout celebrity as the house manager of Sober House and VH1 Celebrity Rehab, the amazingly beautiful Jennifer Gimenez. And I also get to say she's my friend.
Yes.
Glad to have you here.
So
Scott, great to have you here.
Glad to be here.
Out of the gate, celebrity and addiction. Scott, what is it about addictions with celebrities?
Well, you know, addictions with celebrities, no different than addiction with everybody else. It hits an equal part of our population, regardless, you know, of background, regardless of level of success or attainment in life. But what happens when you mix celebrity and rehab is that it's sexy. But it shows up in the media. It
does show up in the media, but don't you think that we are so fascinated with celebrity and addiction, Jennifer? Because you're publicly sober.
Yes,
5.5 years.
Over 5.5 years, actually, and yeah, I mean, there is so much glamour to the fact that these people live a fast-paced life. The thing is, I agree with you, is that, you know, the disease of alcoholism and drug addiction, if you have the gene and you've been exposed to it, it's gonna awaken and the beast will come out. The thing is, too, is that you have these people who are put in the spotlight and you expect them to be role models, and yet they're suffering from a disease that wants them dead, period. And it's scary because a lot of them start at such a young age, you know, in the industry, and you know, all the fame, fortune, and all that.
Lindsay Lohan, let's take celebrity case in point right now. Lindsay Lohan, who has been to rehab how many times?
Yeah, I mean, you know, Dr. Drew even said on Celebrity Rehab to Michael Lohan that, you know, he said, you guys share one thing here. You guys share the same thing. It's the gene, you know, of the disease. And it's so sad. Like, her role models growing up, you know, there was no boundaries for her, let alone with the disease. It just goes into this big, huge hurricane of a windstorm, you know?
So then, Scott, you're not surprised that Lindsay Lohan is an alcoholic with her father, admittingly now on TV, I'm an alcoholic.
Not at all surprised. You know, I mean, the research hasn't really concluded that it's genetic or environmental. I would say that it's both. And what I'd also say is that for celebrities, there is so much work and so much stress that young, up-and-coming celebrities are enduring that the onset of their disease has disastrous effects because of all the pressure and the whole entourage that they're supporting. So people are not willing to call celebrities to the carpet as quickly as they would, you know, a person who doesn't have that public notoriety. So when a person who's in the public light and they're making a living because of their celebrity, because of their talent, those are typically people who work very hard. Lindsay Lohan is an example. Dedicated, hardworking for many, many years as a young actress.
True.
Very talented, very hardworking young woman with a lot of pressure on her because her talent then promotes how many other jobs in her industry.
Well, it creates a lot of jobs.
Huge pressure.
But then let me go from Lindsay Lohan to you, Jennifer, international supermodel. You've walked the runways with the best of the best, but also all over the world. Breakout film star. What got you into this dark world of drugs and alcohol?
You know, I took my first drink at age 12. Wasn't my choice. Wasn't my desire to become an alcoholic. So I was awakened to it.
Is it in your family?
It is.
Okay.
Alcoholism and drug addiction, definitely. You know, I don't have to look that far down the family tree line to see where it comes from. And also, you know, I was 13. It wasn't like it happened. It came to me. I didn't go to it.
Okay.
And again, you know, I'm the provider. I pay the mortgages, you know, take care of my brother, put him through college. Like, it's all this fame, fortune, and so much responsibility. And I was not developed. I was 5, 6 when I started. And then all of a sudden at 14, 15, I start developing. I'm in Paris. I'm living with Naomi, Cindy, Christy, doing the runways with them, you know, on covers of magazines.
Supermodels.
Supermodels, right?
You were on Elle.
On the cover of Elle, one of the youngest girls ever, and in every Elle cover all over the world, and covers from everywhere, all over, and America as well. And the thing is that they were like, oh, can she lose some weight? You know, she has some hips. I'm 14. You know what I mean? I'm starting to develop. You know, and we didn't know any better. My mother's from, you know, my mother and father are from Argentina, dirt roads and donkeys where they grew up.
But I just have to say that though, that when we were modeling together for years, you were also the curvaceous model that people talked about after every show. So did it make you think that there was something wrong with you because people were acknowledging your curves? Because Scott smiled. Scott smiled, like, because I'm sure that's an ongoing thing that you hear.
Yeah, no, I mean, absolutely. Like, it was a lot because they would take me out of school and I wouldn't eat for 5 days, and I would just, you know, the eating disorders and taking laxatives and this and that, and then, you know, traveling the world and seeing drugs. It was a fast-paced life, and there was a lot of, you know, cocaine, there was a lot of drugs, there was a lot of alcohol, and it became a relief for me. You know, it started getting me out of myself. And I actually had fun for a while with it.
Well, it's fun until we know better. Hold on, Jennifer, hold that thought. I'm going to bring you back with this cliffhanger when we come back, more about Jennifer and her addiction, and we're also going to spend more time discussing covers like this that we as a society are so intrigued by. Don't go away.
My name is Scott Robertson. I'm the Program Director for Glendale Adventist Medical Center's Alcohol and Drug Services. If you or anyone in your family is thinking of changing their use of alcohol or another drug, if they're going to stop drinking or stop using alcohol or stop taking opiates, make sure they get medical attention. A person can have a withdrawal syndrome that could kill them. So that means get them to your closest local emergency room, to your doctor's office, or dial 911. So if someone that you know, someone that you care about is going to change their use of alcohol or another drug, they could have a detox syndrome, so make sure that they get medical attention at Glendale Adventist or the hospital closest to you.
Welcome back. Tonight we were talking about celebrity and addiction, and on the forefront of our mind is the tragic death of Amy Winehouse, who now became the newest member to the 27 Club, who is all about music icons that have died at the age of 27. Joining me is the director of Glendale Adventist Alcohol and Drug Services, Scott Robertson, and first-time guest, international supermodel and actress and celebrity star from VH1 Sober House and Celebrity Rehab, Jennifer Gimenez. And before we went to break, Jennifer was talking about what it was like to actually enjoy her first bouts of drinking.
Yeah, I mean, with drinking and drugs, it's like it was so fast. I had money. I made lots of money.
Well, it's exciting. We both did that. It's a life that we did.
There was no boundaries, you know, and I crossed all those. And I think a lot because I started so young. You know, I was the one who set the boundaries, and I didn't even know what that role was. I was such a kid, and what happens is that you start like forgetting, you know, the false from the reality. And,
Interesting.
And then, you know, eventually what goes up must come down, and my crash was really bad. And I've been struggling trying to get sober for the last 14 years, you know, and it has not been the easiest thing. And nowhere in any 12-step program does it say you have to look cute while recovering, but miracles do happen, you know, and I think that at the end of the day, you know, this whole thing with the 27 Club and you know, glamorizing that, like, it really upsets me, I have to say, and I'm not saying it's you, because there's so many kids out there that still idolize these people, and like, these people had a disease that ultimately killed them, and I feel so bad for all those fans and family members that have suffered with the loss of their loved ones.
Do you feel then, Scott, that we're glamorizing the 27 Club?
Absolutely.
Because when I Googled it, we're talking pages and pages and pages. And I mean, when I read that Janis Joplin still was found with a syringe in her arm, is that glamorous? Are we just fascinated by the Fast and the Furious and what you were living? What is that?
Well, it seems that we follow the forbidden. Yeah, that it's really exciting to expose things that we aren't used to looking at. Addiction and death. In our society, how many of the children in our community have grown up never attending a funeral?
True.
In our culture, we fight looking at death. And so when you combine addiction, which is a forbidden reality, and with death, it becomes fascinating. And then if you combine it with sexuality and great beauty, think Marilyn Monroe, found overdosed, reportedly nude in her home. A story that echoes 60 years later. And we glamorize tragedy.
We do, and that is, I think it's become so current and so big in the last decade or two. You really didn't see the downfall of the other people like the Janis Joplins, although it's so tragic regardless. And the thing is that, we are going, oh my God, she's a train wreck, he's a train wreck, and then they die and we're like, see, I told you, or I can't believe it, it's so sad. I think also we suffer from the isms of celebrityism, fameism, being in the media. The more you're in the media, even though you may not be able to perform, sing correctly or act because you're so sick, these people are still obsessed with wanting to be in the media somehow, and we're condoning it, and it's so sad. It's tragic.
Well, first of all, I like that you keep on saying ism. For a lot of you that don't know the word ism, it's alcoholism, fameism, what we're addicted to and obsessed with. Addiction is, as it's quoted, stinking thinking. Do you just feel that celebrities, as we're talking about Amy Winehouse and other people that are just so lost, Lindsay Lohan, and most recently we lost Corey Feldman, Jeff Conaway from Taxi, and your friend
Janie
Grease,
Lane, yeah.
And the guy from Warrant.
Janie Lane and Mike Starr.
Do you think that they were so lost in their ism, and do you feel that we as a public are at fault?
I think that there comes that point where I've seen those last three people, Janie Lane, Mike Starr, and Jeff Conaway.
And I'm sorry, because they are your friends.
Yes, and they were my friends, and I knew them, and I saw them trying to get better. The thing is that they were very sick. The disease, I call them a level 10 addict, as I am, and the disease had such a power over them. And I think sometimes it's like, what secret are you holding? What are you not telling? I really believe that you need to clean house in order to get better. And as well, like with Amy Winehouse, we do not know if she was loaded or not, but the secondary ultimately always is the addiction and alcoholism that she died from. She may have died from not using that night, but it was pretty evident in the YouTube videos and all the videos that you've seen in the few weeks prior to that she wasn't doing so well.
But then, Jennifer, speaking of that, though, okay, so her father says that she was clean, because you and I talked about this, Jennifer. Scott, okay, so just say Amy Winehouse is clean, and she finally went, you know what, I'm going to give up these years of reckless behavior. And she dies without alcohol in her system. Yeah. Why did she die? What happened to Amy Winehouse's body?
Well, if I could tell you, that'd be the million-dollar question right now. But the fact is, toxicology reports aren't going to be in for some time. Let me make that hypothetical and back it off one step. When a person stops using alcohol or benzodiazepines, particularly, and those are sedatives, alcohol's a sedative in sufficient quantities. A person who's been using them for a long enough time, they can have a withdrawal syndrome. And that withdrawal syndrome can be fatal. Alcohol withdrawal in its worst form is called DTs, or delirium tremens. And that is a combination of elevated blood pressure, elevated pulse, tremulousness, diaphoresis, or sweaty palms, and fits of sweat. And it can lead to then a seizure, a heart attack, or respiratory arrest. So those are things that kill people who stop drinking alcohol and don't seek medical attention. And here's where we can make a difference. The fact is that we're talking also a lot about women with addictions. And when we were talking about the ism, I think we're talking about sexism too.
True.
One of the reasons we're fascinated is these are beautiful young women and objects of media adoration or contempt, variously. But women don't get access to treatment typically until they're much sicker. Why? Most women are not multi-million-dollar superstars. Most women, are supporting a family. are working.
True.
And they get access to treatment much later. And we can do a service with these tragedies if it turns into education. If it helps people to understand, like when a person's going to change their use of alcohol, they need medical attention. They need to go see a doctor. If they're already sweaty and agitated and beginning to have withdrawal, which begins about 5 to 10 to 12 hours after they stop drinking, if they're a regular drinker, they need to go to an emergency room, any emergency room. They need to dial 911 if they see a family member who's in withdrawal and they seem to have gone beyond just a little shaky. They need immediate medical attention. And when it comes to helping women in particular in Los Angeles, I'd love to sit here and tell you more about GADS all the time.
True.
But there are women-specific programs in the Los Angeles area. Two of the oldest in the United States are Friendly House and Casa de las Amigas. Marvelous places,
smiling.
Where women have a chance in a cloistered environment, with the support of other women to get sober.
But then here's my question though: do you find women getting sober is more taboo than men?
I find women staying sober harder. And more difficult.
Why? Great.
Because there's so much responsibility. There's a lot of issues that us as women. There's so much depth and weight to that, and it's hard because we don't trust process. We have different DNA than you.
We do.
We're so different, night and day, and it breaks my heart because I have such a thing about that. Like, I love to embrace women, and they kind of get a little overwhelmed with it when I meet them in the rooms or if I meet them, in public, and I say to them, like, they're so used to having so much bashing going on, and I say to them, like, I was there. Like, I used to hate myself so much, and I hated my mother. I didn't know how to learn to love. Like, now I love my mother, and it's not her fault. She didn't do anything wrong.
She was just your mother.
She was my mother. We're like naggies, this and that. But we were so filled with so much, like you were saying, responsibility. Like, a lot of people take care of their kids, their husbands.
Right.
We're still very, a lot of them, we're still very domesticated. And men, even though we want to say we're independent, it's still a man's world. And it's sad to say that, because, in the sense that we are all equals, and a lot of women with the sexism, you go in the rooms and, people want to do something or they don't see you as you're sick there trying to, dying, trying to get better. Right. Or they don't allow you the process of the recovery process. And like, we feel like if we take care of you, then we're better, and right. We're all emotional, and you guys are all physical. So there's that whole dynamic that's going on, and it's breaking the pattern. Today I'm grateful to say I love myself to the best of my ability, and I've learned to understand that I'm a work in progress, and I absolutely love and adore my mother, and I love women. Like, if I can embrace them and help them, then more power to all of us together, and we stand as a bond and as a union. But to go back to someone like Amy Winehouse or the Marilyn Monroes or anyone who's out there sick and suffering, there is help out there. Yeah. There is. But also the family needs to stop enabling. And if these people are seeking help, by going into treatment or going into 12-step rooms or therapy or whatever is going to help them get better, then, those enablers need to, they need to be pushed away. And
yes, enablers do need to be pushed away, but I also want to come back and spend more time talking about how to help people that are suffering. Don't go away. More with Scott and Jennifer when we come back, and we'll spend a lot more time talking about how you can help the ones you love from addiction. Don't go away.
My name's Scott Robertson. I'm the Program Director at Glendale Adventist Medical Center's Alcohol and Drug Services. If you or someone in your family is suffering from an addiction, or you're concerned that they have a problem with alcohol or another drug, we can help you sort out that mess at Glendale Adventist Alcohol and Drug Services. You can call 818-242-3116. 24 hours a day, a counselor will answer that phone. So we can help you 24 hours a day at 818-242-3116. If you'd like to learn more about treatment before you make that phone call, please go to glendaleadventist.com/GADS. Thank you.
Welcome back. Tonight it's been all about celebrity and addiction, and guess what? Addiction kills. You do not have to be a celebrity to die from this fatal disease. Joining me is Scott Robertson from Glendale Adventist Alcohol and Drug Services, and also international supermodel and television and film star Jennifer Gimenez, who's also the breakout celebrity from VH1's Sober House and Celebrity Rehab. This is our wrap-up, so I want to get to as much as we can. Jennifer, before this last break, you were talking about get rid of people that enable you. Really, please emphasize what that means to somebody that is suffering from an addiction.
Well, you know, they say you need to change one thing, and that is everything. And how do you go about that? And you do that by talking to other people who are in recovery, therapists, and actually surrendering. Really, and because I want to keep the enablers around me, they co-sign my BS, and I can't do that because I have to remember where I was when I last drank and used and what happened to me, and it was tragic.
Because that's so important.
And the gift of desperation. Like people say, oh, why do you say that? And I say that because I don't want to forget what it was like, because so easily do we forget. and the thing is that, like, you know, someone like an Amy Winehouse.
Yeah, what could she have done differently?
Wanting to get the help, and the father, like, saying she wasn't drinking or using, it's like she may have not been, but the secondary again is alcohol and drug addiction.
Okay.
Her body was shutting down. You know, the enablers, the getting a sober companion, going away for a while. Like her career, her voice was golden. She was golden. She was such a talented woman. She was a daughter. She was a sister. She was a niece. I mean, she was a lot of other things than just a singer in a train wreck, as people like to say that. I'm not saying she was. I'm just saying that people like to say, oh, well, she was just like that, one of those addicts. You know, she was a human being with a lot of depth and weight, and somebody taking care of her and watching her so we could learn, she can learn life all over again, and a sober companion helps that. Treatment for a long time, 90 days. It used to do that in the old days, you know? Yeah. That was how it works. I mean, I'm grateful that I did over 90 days.
Over 90 days. Scott, same thing with you, finding a sober friend. And we've also been talking about other celebrities.
Yes.
In this time.
You know, when a person enters treatment, I think something that's important for everyone to know is about privacy. You know, if we've mentioned anyone's name today here, it's no reflection that we know any of those people as patients at Glendale Adventist. One of the tragedies that happens for celebrities is they go out in front of the media too soon in their recovery, when they really don't have a recovery. And, you know,
Well, I love that you said that.
as we were talking for a moment about separation from the people who enable us, one of the things treatment provides is like a therapeutic separation, 30, 60, 90 days out of one's drug-using, alcohol-using environment can be very helpful for some people. Not everyone needs it. There's a lot of different models for treatment. But taking a break from one's regular environment and one's regular playmates is a really important thing. And, you know, so what we try to do at GADS and many other treatment programs is to have a therapeutic separation, but then involve the family so the family can learn healthy boundaries, so the addict or alcoholic can begin to take on responsibility in their life again. The point is not to get sober and still have a bunch of people enable a person. And that's one of the relapse triggers for celebrities. They go to rehab and they still have a bunch of handlers and an entourage who want to co-sign all their stuff. And they go back out and they really don't have a recovery support system. They have enablers who are waiting to do what they do best.
Because in the true and sobriety, the saying is repeating the same thing is just insanity, doing the same thing over and over and over again and doing something different.
And expecting different results. It's always the same result.
For someone that is out there suffering from any type of addiction, alcohol, sex, food, fameism, what is your final thought to them?
I'm a big advocate of you don't necessarily have to. A lot of people come to me and ask me about treatment. You know, they don't have the money. You don't have to go that route. There is help out there. There is 12-step programs. There are doctors. If in need, in dire need, 911. You know, the hospitals work out a deal. Treatment centers work out a deal. Ask for help when you go in those 12-step rooms. You know, raise your hand and say, help me. You know, and if your family is not encouraging you while you're getting sober, that's okay. This is a selfish program. This is when you have to say, do I want to live or do I want to die? Where am I going? Which way? You're stuck in a fork in the road, and I want to let you know, miracles do happen. You know, I'm a miracle.
Please, you are.
You know, I mean, I went from the depths of insanity to being able to speak again and walk again and talk like a woman and actually finding my integrity, grace, and dignity. And there is the sex addiction, there is the food addiction, there is the fame addiction, there is the shopping addiction, there's the gambling, there's a porn addiction. I mean, there's all this stuff that goes on, and it's learning to turn it over every day and having somebody else guide you, and we call them mentors, guides.
And also when you say turning it over to God. Scott, final thought.
You know, for anyone who's looking for help, you know, there's a variety of resources. You could call GADS, you can call any of the other resources that were mentioned, 12-step recovery programs. What you'll get when you call a treatment program is a screening over the telephone that will help to determine where you can get help. If you don't have a health plan and you're indigent, There are contracted services provided by Los Angeles County through Medi-Cal.
Great.
If you have private health insurance, there are some hospital-based programs and treatment providers. GADS deals with all the private health plans. So, if you're a celebrity, you probably should go to a place where they drive you up in a limousine and they serve macadamia-encrusted sea bass for lunch. If you're not a celebrity and you don't need that kind of service, go to your local hospital. Most importantly, though, if a person's going to stop using, get medical attention.
Thank you so much. Yeah, Jennifer?
I just want to say it doesn't matter if you're a celebrity, mom, dad, doctor, or
Brother,
a bum on the
sister,
street.
anybody.
If you have a problem, just go anywhere at
And
this point.
I think the most
Reach out.
important thing is
Yeah.
also to have the courage to be willing and say, I need help. Jennifer Gimenez, Scott Robertson, thank you so much. After the show, you will find out how to get in touch with Jennifer and also get in touch with Scott. Thank you for spending this time with us. Remember that addiction kills. You don't have to be a superstar or celebrity to end up on the cover of a magazine. The most important thing you have is your health, and you have right now. If you are suffering from any type of ism or addiction, pick up the phone, make a phone call, or look at someone you love and say, you know what, I need help. It starts right here, right now. Do something different. On behalf of all of us here at Healthline, we hope we saved at least one life tonight. Have a great night, and we will see you next time.